This is a very important part of our growing system. Now, some of you have been having problems with it, so today we're going to talk about 5 tips to turn this into that. Alright, let's go. So we're going to go over 5 quick tips on what you should do with your microgreens. Now, tip number 1 is that you should use microgreens if you're trying to do this system where we keep the greens growing one after the other and we just keep this continuous harvest going. If you use little packets from the home improvement store, local nursery, you can grow little bits like this, only so much come in a package. So if you're wanting to grow a lot and you want to do it over and over and over again, you're gonna have to buy a lot of packets, and those tend to get a little expensive. Now, if you get microgreens and you keep these growing all the time so that you can come in here, you can harvest some, eat those, and just leave the rest of them growing, even if it looks a little uneven like this because we've been harvesting here and picking off of it. Just leave them growing so that while you go through, you have different stages. So while some's growing, you've got the next one coming up, and if you're going to go ahead and harvest this, you can clean out the trough, your downspout, put some new nutrients in it, and you've already got some microgreens to pop right in behind of it. And these will be a week or 2 weeks behind this one, and you just keep the system going over again. So just having the microgreens around is awesome because you can toss them on your meals, and you'll also have them for backup for your garden. Now, number 2 is you want to keep everything damp, and people have been having problems with pulling these out by the roots. They're trying to get they're trying to pull them out and the roots are ripping. Now, whatever grow medium you're using, this is the little homemade egg carton we used. Whatever grow medium you're using, if it dries out, you are going to have a hard time getting the roots out. Now, some of the roots can come off. You can pull your plants up and trim the roots a little if you need to, like tomatoes and stuff like that, right? So you don't have to get every bit of root, but if whatever you're growing in is dry, it's going to be a lot tougher. It doesn't matter if it's a grow mat, if it's a paper towel like we have here, even if you're just growing in soil or cocoa coir, whatever you're growing in, if you let it dry out, it's going to be a little tougher to get it apart. So when I make these, it's a little wick that I put through. There's usually just a paper towel. I usually take 2 of them and fold it over and work it through. Now imagine this, your roots grew on this and then you let it kind of get dry before you go to pull them out, right? They're going to be all tangled up and tough, but if you let it get damp, let it sit overnight, right? See how easy it is? So you want this material in here to be damp, and then when you get to pull your roots out, it's not going to be that hard. So what I do is a couple days before I go to transplant them, I'll go ahead and fill them up, make sure they got a lot of water, that it's nice and damp, and I don't go ahead and plant out until the evening time. So I'll come out in the morning and go ahead and get everything nice and damp because it's going to be going into a wet environment, right? So that way you're not putting them into shock, just pulling them from a totally dry environment into a 100% wet environment. And I'll let it go ahead and soak all through the day, and then I'll plant them out in the evening, and that will give them the night to kind of acclimate, because when you put the little tender microgreens in here, if you plant them out and you put them in the sun, the first thing that's going to happen is they're just going to wilt and die. So I always plant in the evening. I get everything nice and damp, and that way it makes it easier to pull the roots apart, and it helps the plant go from one environment to the next. Alright, tip number 3 is grab them by the bunch. I know a lot of you like to go in and just pull one plant because we think, that's a plant and it's going to be like one like this. So we're trying to get each one, and put one into your little pool noodle, and then going back and getting another one or 3 in that. But what I like to do, instead of just trying to grab one, is grab a whole bunch. You come in for a close-up. And then whatever grow medium you have, comes apart easy. If the roots all tangled around it, don't try to get them all apart, just put them in just like that. And if you leave a little bit of debris on it, that gets us to tip number 4. If there's a little debris left on the roots, just leave it. This is off-grid, there's no filters, no pumps, it's not going to bother anything. This is fast growing. If it stays inside of here, you know, if this goes for 6 months or something, the roots will decay, you get organic material in here and it might start to go anaerobic. But if we're only going to be in here for a couple of weeks, that little bit of debris is not going to bother anything. So don't bother trying to get everything off the roots and that. I just plant them like that, and with the cardboard, the egg carton, paper towel, whatever's on it, I go ahead and just plant it with that. And number 5 is be gentle. You know, these guys are babies, right? You don't just like take your baby and toss them somewhere, right? You got to take them and just be gentle with them. Don't squeeze it real hard. And just treat them nice and easy, right? Because like we said, you know, these are tender. You know, you try to take care of them in that. If you're going to go ripping them up by the roots and squeezing the heck out of them and then trying to put them in there, you know, you're probably going to damage them. So take it easy with them. So that's 5 quick tips. I hope that helps you. Microgreens are an integral part of the system. You're going to use microgreens, number 1. Number 2, keep it damp. Number 3, pull them up by the bunches. Don't try to grab just one. Number 4, don't worry about getting all of the debris off of the roots. And number 5, be gentle. Be patient, have fun, lift, inspire, keep on growing. Be the change. Go grow some food.